Hi, I'm Nancy Nangeroni,
And I'm Gordene McKinsey.
and this is GenderVision.
Lots of people making big, big bucks. You and me, babe, I see we're out of love. Well, I heard a voice from a high above. It don't cost a thing just to be in love. We don't have anything but love.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another segment with Jaclyn Friedman. We're very pleased to have her back. This is our extended GenderVision part 2.
I love that, an extended gender vision.
We keep stretching the gender vision further and
That's
further.
right. Well, you know, we're doing a half-hour show on monthly, but we just have so much more to do,
Yeah.
than you can fit into a half-hour show.
So we spill over.
And we love to get into, what our guests really want to talk about even more, the personal. And I understand you're going to do some performance for us.
I am, but I love that your show doesn't even fit in its own box,
It's falling out of it.
You're
like so
you're
many
living-
of us do.
Exactly.
It's a good thing. Jaclyn, how did you come to feminism?
Oh, it's a somewhat standard story. I was in college. I went to Wesleyan University, loved it, very progressive university, and I was a psychology major, undergraduate.
I was too. I did double with creative writing.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I got my master's in creative writing.
Too good.
We
Is that
should
right?
talk about that. So I wanted to be a writer and a performer from a young age, but I thought that was a terribly impractical thing to do, and that I couldn't have a career in it.
As we're all
lesson,
told.
A lesson to everyone,
Yeah.
just do what you love and forget about it. It'll figure itself out.
Yes.
So I thought psychology was something I was interested in that would be a practical thing to do that I could get work doing.
Yeah.
So I was doing a psychology degree, and I took a psychology of women class. And I'd always had an awareness of social justice. I think actually from my Jewish upbringing.
Sure.
I came from a really sort of progressive Jewish temple. My rabbi was the first woman who was ordained in America. Sally
Wow.
Priesand, she's her Jeopardy question. She was a real inspiration.
question.
Absolutely. And so I sort of had that, in the water. And so when I got to Wesleyan, and then I took this psychology of women class, it really started to percolate, and then I saw the fantastic Jean Kilbourne.
Oh, yes.
She came to campus, and she brought her slideshow. This was late 80s, early 90s, which is about the way advertising uses women to sell.
Yes.
And all the things that are done to women's images in order to sell products. And it was one of those click moments that you hear about. It really was. It was. I can remember I remember where the theater was, and I remember being in my seat. I remember about where I was sitting, and I remember thinking, I see the world in an irrevocably new way now.
That's amazing.
Cool.
And it really all flew out. It flowed from that.
And she's done. What are the names of her videos? I can't recall.
Killing Us Softly,
That's
Still
right.
Killing Us Softly. She actually has books out as well. Can't Buy My Love,
Yes.
and then she recently have a book come out called So Sexy So Soon, which is about sexualizing children,
young, of course.
which is really
Wonderful. Jean Kilbourne.
And you can hear an interview with her on Gender Talk Radio, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
At gendertalk.com.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then actually my spring of my junior year in college, I was sexually assaulted, and that it's terrible, but it's also terribly common.
Sure.
And that really radicalized me, because I thought that as a smart activist feminist, I was already, chairing the student faculty commission on the quality of life for gay and lesbian students on campus.
That's
and, I was already an activist, and I thought that wouldn't happen to me, right? Because I knew better. I was empowered and, all of these things. And I was incorrect.
Wow. Activism isn't a protection.
It really is not, but it is self-defense. And I got very involved in my 20s learning and teaching practical self-defense through impact model mugging.
Excellent.
Wonderful. And impact model mugging is a course of study, or it's an organization?
Impact is a course. It's an organization. You can find chapters all over the country and a few outside of the country that teaches. You've probably seen it. They did it like a Designing Women episode, and they did it on King of the Hill. There's a guy in a giant suit of padding, and you get to really learn to hit full force. You learn what power is in your body, but you learn a lot also about where are your boundaries and how do you protect them.
That's right.
So it actually transformed my relationship with my mother and with my employers. And, it was not. It's not just about, because when you know that you can say no and back it up, it actually de-escalates a lot of things because you don't feel nearly as threatened. Even just you learn to control yourself in an adrenalized state, and you learn how to pay attention and take care of your boundaries in an adrenalized state. And we get in those states all the time, much more emotionally than physically.
And never with any degree of control or training, really.
Right.
For the most part, the adrenalized state, we have to resort to reflexes and instincts.
So it gets you do a lot of role playing, and it gets you into that adrenalized state, and then you learn how to handle yourself once you're all agitated.
Cool.
And then you taught, didn't you? Didn't you even teach to female, male, transgender persons?
I did. I designed the first curriculum for Impact nationally, teaching a specific class for female to male spectrum trans folks. We did that like 10 years ago already, and they've taught it a few times.
Wonderful.
It was actually one of the most profound experiences.
That was here in the Boston area, wasn't it?
Yeah, we taught it right in the basement of the Arlington Street Church.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been a good ally, Jaclyn.
Oh, well,
thank you.
we're all allies to each other. I mean, I feel like we're all doing the same work from different points of view.
Yeah. And then you won some awards as a performance poet.
That's true. I won a Cambridge Poetry Award and Summerville Arts Council grant. I've been given a fellowship to the Vermont Studio Center a few years ago, which was really fantastic. I got to go to an artist colony for a month and just do my work, which
how nice.
Really is one of the best months of my life.
I bet.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good attention on the work, and I've been blessed in that way.
Wonderful.
I haven't really been doing as much performance work lately because I've been working on the book and a lot of the activist stuff, although I have more recently been performing with Big Moves.
Talk about that.
Sure. Big Moves is the only national size positive dance and performance troupe. So they do dance shows and musical spoofs. So last year we did Lard, like Grease, only thicker. I played kind of the Frenchy character. And just this past fall, I wasn't in this production, but they did Hot Buffet to the sort of cabaret theme, sort of a dystopian musical. And the idea is, it's so hard as a larger woman to be seen as beautiful and as someone that someone would want to watch on a stage or on a screen.
That's so great.
And so Big Moves is out there not only providing opportunities for larger women and people of all sizes to perform, but also getting that message out that,
That's so
we're
great.
very entertaining.
And I imagine people could go to a website and find them too?
Yes, they're at bigmoves.org.
Wonderful. And then finally, your Women Action in the Media. Give us a little bit of flavor about what that is. And you co-founded that. Nancy and I have been there. And
You've been presenters for us.
Yeah,
That's
it
right.
was wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you. WHAM, which is what we call it, came about in 2004. And it was one of those things that happens very organically. We at Center for New Words, we were talking about the spring season, and a couple people were coming up with books about women and media. And one of our co-directors, Laura Zimmerman, had just written an article for the Women's Review of Books about how women's voices were disappearing from the news media post 9/11.
That's right.
Which is very profound disappearance, because of course once our security is at stake, we must listen to men.
That's right.
Get
the women out of the way and protect them, which is a really scary
profound illusion. So it was sort of percolating, and as the events coordinator there, I thought, well, it's easier to put one big event on than it is several small ones on the same topic. So why don't we said, why don't we do like a half-day symposium? And we put together a list of everyone we thought would be great to have, and we started issuing invites thinking, 20% of them will come, because that's how life is. It was only a few months out. And almost everybody we invited came.
Oh,
and we really just understood from that moment that we had hit a nerve. Yeah. And there were so many people that came together even that first year. We only had 100 or so people that first year. that had heard of each other, that had been reading each other, but everyone's working in isolation, you know. And so we started forming what we're calling, you know, the New Girls Network.
That's great.
And as opposed to the Old Boys Network. So it's grown 100, 200 people every year. And the idea of WHAM is to bring together everyone who has a stake in gender justice in the media.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what that means is activists who are working to change the whole structure of the media, the whole corporate media. It means people working in professional mainstream journalism whose careers are being impacted by their being female or not male gendered. You know, it means, and everything in between. People who are concerned about the way women are portrayed in the media. Everyone who has a stake gets together to exchange ideas and hash things out and argue with each other.
And we get editors, people that are doing radio broadcasts,
absolutely, editors,
television.
producers, new media, blogs, all of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this
Indie
is now an annual thing, right?
It's annual. It's the end of March every year. So this year, 2009, it's coming up March 27th to the 29th right here in Boston.
Who's coming?
We have this amazing, got a grant from the Global Fund for Women, and Friday night we have a keynote panel of women covering global conflicts. So we have
that's great.
one of the heads of the McClatchy Bureau in Iraq, an Iraqi woman, Huda Ahmed, is coming. Jenny Manrique Cortez, who is a Colombian journalist who's been covering a lot of the conflicts there.
That's great.
We have
Oh, wow.
a woman, Peta Thornycroft, who's been covering Zimbabwe for many years, is coming in from
Wow.
Zimbabwe to tell us
This sounds fascinating.
not only a woman's view on conflicts around the world, but also what is it like to be a woman covering war.
Sure.
So sort of both directional conversation. So we're thrilled about that.
Wow.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, and I should say we have, you know, like 100 presenters who are all fabulous, including several trans presenters. I know Julia Serrano is coming
Oh, great.
for
She's terrific.
actually a session about how gender is portrayed and discuss how gender identities play out in media coverage.
Wonderful.
But on the other end, we're having Sarah Haskins. I don't know if your viewers are familiar.
I'm not.
She, you really should check her out. She does a show for Current TV called Target Women. She's a comedian. She comes out of Second City in Chicago. And her show, which you can find all over the internet, lampoons the way the media sells to women.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Oh.
you know, one show will be about tampon ads, and one will be about cleaning products, and
Oh,
one
wonderful.
will be about, you know, vampire movies. And she sort of really lays bare, you know, all the stereotypes inherent in the patronizing, horrible advertising to
Oh,
women.
that's awesome.
We saw the power of lampoon in what Saturday Night Live did around Sarah
Yes.
Palin.
Yes.
Very powerful art form.
Well,
Very
this
powerful.
sounds just
So
wonderful.
she's our Saturday night feature.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're going to have to go.
Well, we'll be there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, no
now, where
question.
can people find out more about it?
People can find out about WHAM at womenactionmedia.org.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's
Super.
our permanent web address, so if they want to find out about next year's conference.
Womenactionmedia.org.
And I will let slip a little news. This is
Okay.
actually the most public that I've said this, which is next year we will be in a city that is not Boston.
Oh.
I'm going to keep the
darn.
city under wraps still
Darn.
a little bit.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry. We'll come back to
Yeah.
the East Coast for
Okay.
sure, but it's time.
So we're gonna have to
the
follow.
conference has gotten big enough that it really makes
Good.
sense for us to start
That's healthy.
reaching different audiences
Of
every
course,
year. We
of
want to reach
course.
different local communities.
This year, are you at the MIT Data Center again?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Great.
That
And-
weird building.
In the past, you've had Helen Thomas, who
Last
followed
year,
Bush
yeah.
around and did all
Oh,
kinds
yes.
of things. So awesome. Well, I
Wonderful.
want to keep some time for your
Yeah, we need to move
poetry.
on.
We want to hear that.
Yeah.
But great stuff that you're doing, Jaclyn.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your work.
Congratulations and thank you
Absolutely.
both. So
Yeah.
you're going to do some performance for us?
If you insist.
Please.
All right, I'm going to do two
Please.
poems. One of them I thought was really thematically linked to Yes Means Yes, to my new book. And
Great.
so I
Great.
thought, since we've been talking a lot about that I would do that. And the second is actually a book poem that was published in the book Pinned Down by Pronouns, which was published a number of years ago. I think-
Wonderful
It is
book.
not
we did
available.
a piece
You're in it too,
We're in
yeah.
it, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
no longer available, which is a crying shame. But,
Yeah.
It definitely is.
somebody
I've
should
used
pick
it
that
for
book
my
up.
students before and
Yeah,
have
there's
begged
a lot of
me
good writing
to
in that.
resurrect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so maybe we can put pressure on the publishers.
Yeah,
Please
very-
bring back Pinned Down.
Very
Excellent,
diverse
excellent book.
perspectives of gender in there. Very, very
Yeah.
healthy, good book, well written. Lots of great
Across
stuff.
race, across class.
Yeah. Very
So
progressive.
this first one is called I'm Not Medusa, and it actually came out of some research I did when I start, with hair like this, the comparisons happen. I've been Medusa for Halloween a few times.
I love it.
And I started researching Medusa and found out that the complete myth, we really just know Medusa as the monster, but the complete myth is that Medusa was a very beautiful virgin who was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple, and Athena got very jealous and punished Medusa by turning her into the monster that we know.
Punished her for being raped.
Indeed. So this is clearly very linked to the work that I'm doing.
Good.
As happens.
It's called I'm Not Medusa. But I might as well be with this nest of angry hair, the strange permission of it, these dark, thirsty snakes seeking freedom. They've always been lawless, and I've always been the girl you had to shut up, tie down, the crazy one with the mouth. Could you see this seething mess and not expect chaos? I deliver. I can't remember ever not wanting to go off. I can't remember ever not being a thing on someone's leash, their fist in my hair for good measure. I forget who's holding me back now. Expect a leash for long enough and you become it. A good enough girl. A girl who minds her mouth so no one else has to. I know what you're thinking. This girl thinks she's well behaved. I'll tell you, I'm no different than any girl. We eat fear. We dream there's a man who wants to kill us and our mouths won't open. Hair like snakes will only get you so far. I want to free, so real and deep, it's breathing air like dandelions. Instead I get Perseus, Poseidon. Press the thumb to the base and hold the stem firmly. Go ahead, pop the head off. Her eyes killed men after she was dead. Remember? Maybe you can forget. My hair hurts at the root. My neck aches from the straining. I will not shut up. Unlike the herd's eyes, my mouth doesn't want to turn you into stone, though you could expect a girl's face to when she's been raped and blamed and made a snake hair monster by her pretty sister. I don't begrudge the girl her strategy. But what does a stone know? This is no dream, and my mouth won't fail me again in that alley or temple or bed. Remember that. If I scream, come running. If I speak, I'm trying to be heard. Listen to me. A girl doesn't get this loud for no reason. It's not in my hair. I don't know what I expect. Maybe just to open my mouth and speak like an unleashed girl, someone who says things you remember, a girl with hair for hair.
All right. Oh, awesome.
Very powerful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh.
And so this is the piece that I wrote for, or I submitted to Pinned Down by Pronouns. This is a little bit sexy, so if you have small children that you aren't ready for this,
Okay.
I'll leave that up to your judgment, people at home.
We put our warning out.
Yeah.
I'll try, and I'm sure there are actual dirty words in it, but there's a dirty section that I can tell you.
Okay.
Meeting at Babel. 1. I do not have a secret body, but my body has her secrets. I don't mean her grief, her sorrow, the multitudes of wounds visited upon her. These are easy secrets, mandatory badges of time, like cellulite. I mean the hard ones, the shame of her hunger, the way she aches to be held all night, every night, the way you could not ever hold her enough. 2. Your body is a language you translate for me. Your neck is your phallus, thick with desire and your brand new boy voice. You stroke that shaft of skin, tell me something I can't remember. The parts you choose not to discuss, explaining instead with the way you use them, pressing me hard against somebody else's picket fence. We kiss in silence. 3. There is a place beyond language, where our bodies understand each other. It is here where your body will describe itself to me, where mine will answer back. She will say, this is what I see when I see you, and I like this taut, flat place, this particular curve. She will say, does this feel good? And I want to bite you, lick this space, breathe hot here, cool there. How does it feel when I do that? She will say, Here, you are so beautiful. I offer you my whole self. Let me scream for you. Let me hear you scream. She will ask, when you see me, what do you see? And your body will answer, I like this part here especially. And mine will say, really? I've never noticed that before. And together we'll laugh, begin again, beg and suck, groan, bite, breathe, open and close, slide, push, smell, taste, squeal, slap, snort, rub, lick, press, bend, whimper, drip, explode, gasp, and scream. 4. What are my names for your battleground body? How can I name what is not mine? 5. Of course this is meant to seduce you. What poem doesn't strive to open something inside at least one person? What poet doesn't fancy herself that powerful? But more than that, this is meant as a brick, something solid to hold in a hand, edges, heft, a measurable dimension. 6. Today, I stood in front of the mirror inspecting stretch marks, scars, eczema, the extra 20 pounds I no longer even mean to lose. You are not the only one who shivers when naked. 7. No, I do not understand. I have never traveled a terrain like your body. I will need a guide. 8. Hard secret number 4. For me, the body is easy. Bring on your hands, your eyes, your mouth. She trusts your lust. The more you devour her, the more you become. It is my heart that recoils when you open her. It is your love that is the slippery earth. I am not at home here. Give me the mountains, the safe remove of altitude. Give me the ocean, the total depth of immersion, the inexorable pull of the tides. I don't know how to walk here. I don't know which stones will bear weight. 9. Enough poetry. Put your hand on my hip and feel the flesh give. Feel the bone stop giving. Press hard. She will not rub off on you like last night's lipstick. She will not make you into anything different than what you already are. Of course this will not seduce you. Your fear isn't interested in my opinion. I only mean to say, I see you are afraid. I only mean to rub the soft pad of my index finger slowly along the cup of your palm, along the thick hill beneath your thumb, along the knuckles, the very edge of your fingernail. I only mean to show that it is the edges of us that makes rubbing so lovely.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have a few minutes here. What haven't we talked about?
What haven't we talked about?
Yes, really.
Hmm.
We're very excited about the book, and
And the hope for the future.
yeah.
Can I say something more about
Yeah.
the book? Okay,
Please.
so something very practical is this. A lot of people get very anxious when we talk about, yes means yes, and women should have access to pleasure. And they get anxious not just because we're culturally trained that that's not okay, but a lot of people say to me, well, okay, that's a lovely idea. I can agree with that in principle, but still the world is a dangerous place. Sure. Shouldn't we still be warning women? Don't we still have to stay in this terrible no place because it's dangerous out there?
Or stay in the house. Or
Right, exactly.
Never
but
go out.
Here's the thing. It's not working. It's
Yeah.
already not working. Shaming women, telling them to be careful. I mean, you can watch any Law and Order, any article in the campus newspaper. Every young person knows that, women get raped. It's very dangerous out there. So those scare tactics, they simply aren't working. Yeah. And that's why I turned to self-defense, actually, because I think it is going to take a long time to change the culture. And in the meantime, we're going to need to be prepared. But it doesn't mean we need to not have pleasure. And this is my, can I just?
Yeah.
My sort of final and ultimate point is pleasure in our bodies is a basic human right. It needs to be treated as a basic human right. And when we tell half the population to reduce or not seek their own pleasure because the other half might harm them, That's a human rights issue.
It certainly is.
And it needs to start being treated that way. Not just that it's terrible to do violence against another person, but to suppress someone's ability to take pleasure in their own body without harming somebody else. That's a human rights issue.
Interesting, because if a woman goes out looking for a partner to have an enjoyable sexual experience and gets raped, the presumption is she was asking for the rape.
She's
Right.
blamed.
It's very hard to find a jury that will convict in that circumstance
right.
if she was being aggressively sexual.
Yes.
Right.
And yet men are allowed to be aggressively sexual, and they're allowed to rape even in a situation like that.
Right.
But a woman can't go out and say, gee, I'm looking for a sex partner, without running the risk of getting raped, on which a jury won't convict.
Exactly. And this actually really ties together a lot of struggles. This ties together a lot of queer civil rights. If pleasure in your body were a basic human right,
Which
and
it should be.
as
Which it
long as
should
it's
be, because-
consensual and you're not
Definitely
harming
should be.
anyone.
Pursuit of pleasure is in, I don't remember if it's the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution,
Right.
but it's in our founding documents.
Pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness.
I'm
right.
sorry.
She's rewriting.
Yes,
It really
Freudian
erases
slip.
arguments against queer sex as well.
Yeah,
It's the
of
same
course.
argument, and it
Sure.
erases the motivation for hate crimes.
One quick point.
Yeah.
How wonderful it would be if parents taught their young daughters self-defense.
In fact, yes.
That would probably, it sounds to me like that would make more difference. That would be, instead of teaching them abstinence, teach them to defend themselves.
What do
know-
you teach the boys, though, too? You have to teach the boys that they have no right to
You
violate
teach the
someone
boys to be
else's body.
responsible, and you teach them that girls are people too.
We need to teach everybody everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to teach everybody that their body is their own and no one should violate it. And we need to teach everybody how to physically take care of themselves. The guy who assaulted me,
Yeah.
he wasn't bigger than me. But I didn't know. I just had no idea that there was anything I could
Yes.
do.
We have to wrap.
It's scary.
We have to wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is scary.
It's,
And the best thing you can do
But
is
I think change
arm,
is coming.
arm kids with what they need. Change is
Change
coming.
is coming, and we talk to women and men, and we break down those gender barriers.
Jaclyn Friedman, thank you so much for being our guest here on
Oh, it's a
GenderVision.
great pleasure.
And for this
Ours
inspiration.
too. Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks.
So, goodbye, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, don't.
You can always stretch your gender vision.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. Okay.
Oh,